in the smaller business, you don't usually have a peer group, a C-suite that you're getting in behind doors and talking through some of these challenges with. So who do you talk to about some of these challenges? So it's another role that I find myself providing as I go forward.
Hey, this is Nick Armstrong, and you are watching the Founded in FoCo podcast. Every episode, we get a chance to talk to an innovative mover and shaker in our community, and today we've got Dayle. Dayle, welcome to the show. Tell us about your business.
Hey, Nick, thank you. Glad to be here. Hey, I'm the CEO and founder of Intentional Results Consulting. My services include fractional COO work. So what that is really, it's a fractional chief operating officer, but what that really translates into is doing part-time executive operations management for businesses. I really help leaders and visionaries execute on their goals and their strategy, kind of get into the weeds and help them make it happen, right? A lot of times our visionaries and business leaders have all these really great ideas, but they're not necessarily so great on the execution of them or the communication of them or the strategies. And that's where I come in. So I just help them develop policies and procedures, maybe automate some systems, help them scale if that's what they're looking to do, maybe some tech projects. And that's what I do, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's after COVID, we've seen so many things just go by the wayside for expediency or just for survival. Talk to me about what does your average day look like as a COO, as a fractional COO, and how does that work when there's so many different competing needs for attention and ideas and resources and things like that?
Yeah. So the day can look very different, of course. So some days I will be doing planning sessions with the team, with the leadership team, and helping them establish their goals and action items and KPIs going forward. So I could be doing that with the client for a couple of days, and we focus in on that because it's really important to know where you're going, be intentional, but then we're going to want to measure how you're doing that. And that is a lot of fun for me because I get to do some leadership coaching in there as well as strategic planning and kind of bring my operations experience and kind of connect some dots for them. So my days might look like that. A lot of times I'll come in and join the leadership team in a meeting, just to kind of say, hey, where are you at on here? Where are your obstacles? If we've implemented some new technology, how is that going? I always tell people I kind of go through these three things. We want to talk about the people. They're the most important thing, right, that's going on in your business and operationally. So how are your people doing? How are your processes doing? And what can we do to improve on that? And where can I support you? And it can range from maybe they want to take a project and go paperless. So a project might be like, I want to take my environment paperless. So I'll come in and we'll kind of review their operations and their systems, what they're doing today, document that, so that then we can decide how to automate it, what would be the best way to automate it, and then help the people understand why we're doing it, right? And getting them on board, because it really doesn't matter what you do if you don't get the people on board with you, and then implement that. Some days I'll get a call and it'll be from a client who's run into a challenge and they just need to talk it through. So it's one of the things I really love about operations is it's all over the place, and operations touches everything in a business. So I just juggle the day, and sometimes I'm helping them juggle their day and their priority and their crisis. So yeah, that's kind of what the day looks like. Sometimes you can plan for it. Sometimes you can't plan for it. But it's really coming in again part-time, like how much do they need me? Sometimes they need me more than other times. And I think that's one of the really strong benefits of being a fractional is I can come in heavy when they need me, but then I can just come back into a maintain mode. But the great thing for them is I now know them, I know their business, I know their challenges, and I know their teams. And so it gives them kind of that trusted advisor kind of on call.
How did you get started in fractional COO work?
Right. A year ago, I didn't even know what that was. I was doing some business consulting, kind of coaching, and I just had a couple contacts of mine refer clients to me, and they just said, you know what, I actually think they would be a really good fit for you because, yeah, they need some coaching, but they really need somebody to get in the weeds with them. So really, Nick, it was brought to me. And isn't that like the best when somebody really kind of sees something that you bring to the table and your skills, and then they just start referring people into you. And, I've had a couple clients now for almost a year. And that's the other thing I really love about it is I'm able to flex with them. I came in when they really needed something, but now I'm in maybe a monthly coaching with them or a quarterly planning session with them. Yeah, it's really great. But so that's kind of how I came into it. I didn't even realize it existed, but it's what I knew I wanted to do after I left my corporate world. I knew that I wanted to use all the experience and education and tips and tricks I'd learned and be able to present it my way and customize it to business owners.
Do you find that corporate expertise makes for stronger fractional COO work? Because I feel like the knowledge that you'd have to have as an operations officer in a Fortune 500 company ish would need to sort of reflect the type of environment or the industry, the leadership style. There seems like there's a lot of moving widgets. So how do you ensure that you're a good fit for a client moving forward who needs fractional help?
Yeah, that's great. So I start with just meeting with them. And really, it needs to be a good fit. That needs to be, do our philosophies line up? Are our styles a good complement, or can we communicate? Really, it's about communication. I do a discovery with them on what they're looking for. And it might look a little bit like, and talk to me right now about what's keeping you up at night. What's your greatest pain? Where are you trying to get to, right? So you really wanting to motivate and encourage them on this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, but crap, I can't get there because of this, right? Or I can't see how to get there. So having a conversation, just getting them talking, what does their business do? What do they do better than someone else? So it's really a conversation so that I can customize and say, okay, this is what I think I could bring to you, or maybe I'm not the right person for you, but I do know another fractional who does this. And that's one of the other things I really like is though I might focus on operations, we have fractional financial officers, HR officers. So it's now become accessible for smaller businesses to take advantage of a full C-suite and leverage years of experience and large company information that we have in our head that lets us very quickly pull it out of our little toolkit and say, oh, here's this for you, and it's accessible to them now, which I think is fantastic. So that's
Yeah,
how it gets started. It's a conversation.
that scaling of a business in that particular way. So you might be a small operation, a freelancer, solopreneur, or even just a small business with a few employees, and you need that next step. What is the thing that takes you to the next level of success or the next level of profitability? And oftentimes you can't get there on your own. You have to have that C-suite, and it certainly helps to have that boatload of experience because most entrepreneurs come from that environment of, oh, I worked for a corporation, I worked for those bigger entities, and then they're doing it themselves. They didn't necessarily carry with them all of the elements of that business that made it a success, like the HR, as you mentioned, the operations, the marketing, the accounting, all of those toolkits that we then find out have additional costs. And otherwise, the externality is yours to bear. And when you're wearing all the hats from janitor to CEO, it's impossible to pack that much knowledge into one human being. So
And I'm
it's
going to
fascinating work.
Yeah, it is. And what I'd like to also, I've done the corporate level, but then I've also done general manager work of smaller businesses as well as being my own solopreneur. And it is different when you're in a corporation versus maybe a company of 200 versus 10 versus yourself. But there are a lot of patterns and a lot of tools and a lot of similarities. But if you don't know how to go from small to large, then you're right. You don't see the path. You just can't see how to get there. And having somebody maybe with a broad background as well as a deep, some experience on it, can come in and really kind of quickly put together some things for you that, it just saves you so much pain and helps you grow and helps your employees grow. So that's what I really like is making it easier, helping them make it easier.
How do you build longevity into the processes that you implement or suggest for a client? I would imagine that having, their route type things that they do every day they get into embedded habits, and it's really hard for them to sort of adjust, and especially when you're gone. So how do you align them into the right types of process and systems that account for longevity of those?
Yeah, yeah. So one, it's getting the right systems and processes in place to start with, right? That do have the ability to scale with them a little bit. And usually that's the pain point, right? To your point, they've been doing it all, or they have a team of 10 and they've been doing just these things and they don't know how to do it differently. They don't know what to say no to. So part of it is coaching them into just remember you have to say no to certain things to get here, right? And that's hard to do. How do you say no when it's all you, or even think about what you could start delegating out? So it's a mindset. It's not just the logistics, it's that mindset and getting them to filter and think differently. Once they have that, then you can put those systems and processes in place. But you've really got to get it into the mindset. Otherwise, each time they have a challenge, they have to come back to you. And my goal isn't for them to have to keep coming back to me. My goal is to set them up, help them grow, and eventually find a full-time manager, operations manager. And I will help them find and train that full-time manager for themselves. And then I can be available at a higher strategic, less frequency for them, and continue that journey. So I might be in the weeds now. I might help them find their manager, and then I'll stay in touch with them and keep with them to make sure we're on the right track, because you're going to have obstacles or a pivot in the industry or something that makes your business change. And it's nice to have somebody alongside you who's like, I know what you do. I know you. Let me help you get to this next step or overcome this hurdle.
It's symbiotic, and it addresses a key need of a business, because you can't just have, so if you, especially if you're not quite there yet, you don't have the budget to hire that extra person to do the thing and to build out all the systems and all of the things. And as you said, once somebody can come in there and actually take ownership of those elements, it makes all the difference. That ownership paired with the knowledge and skill gap that has been addressed through your presence, and having those two paired is a really powerful combination.
Yeah, and I think it brings a sense of security. So there's a trust and a safety thing that happens when you have somebody that you now trust who's maybe done this before, you know them now. It just takes that angst off of you, right? The business owner and the leader, because you know you've got that partner to reach out to. And sometimes I'll just get a call when somebody had something going on and they call me out of nowhere from their car, completely unexpected. But that's what I'm here for, right? You can do that. And to have that trusted, because in the smaller business, you don't usually have a peer group, a C-suite that you're getting in behind doors and talking through some of these challenges with. So who do you talk to about some of these challenges? So it's another role that I find myself providing as I go forward.
Tell us about your session at Founded in FoCo.
Oh, yeah, I love it. So, as you may remember, Nick, my background is technology. So, I love anytime we bring technology systems and efficiencies into our business, right? Because uh, I just don't like having to do the same thing twice. And I know that a lot of visionary entrepreneurs are the same way. That's why they do what they do. They don't want to get caught in some of that routine. So I love tech, I love efficiency, and I really think that's where AI is going to take us. So my session is about helping small businesses integrate AI into their daily operations. Um, it's super fascinating right now. I mean, every time I think I have even locked down my presentation, there's new news, right? Every other day, something new is spinning up in the AI. And what I believe my super power is to be able to take some of that jargon and that talk and that tech and help people apply it to the business world. Like, where do you even start, right? How do you even get going? And so that's what my session is going to be about. It's going to be about, okay, what is this big thing that's called AI? How can I leverage it? How can it benefit me? Where do I even start? And so we're aligning the business functions with AI helping you figure out which ones may be for you. And then what would be the next steps? What are some best practices when we're using AI? And again, I have a security background coming out of financial security and cybersecurity. So that's always front of mind for me. And so I always want to make sure I'm including a session on, let's talk about the ethics behind this. Let's talk about keeping yourself safe and what that looks like. So I get pretty excited about it. It's really the challenge of how do you bring it down to just a 45-minute session. But that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do a lot of connecting and sharing how others are using it, because that's the thing that's magical about Founded in FoCo. We are connecting, we're growing, and we're learning together. So it's not just about me sharing what I know, it's about me sharing what I know and facilitating a conversation with other business owners and participants so we can learn from each other as well as connect with one another as a community.
It's such a great thing to be able to get all of those different pieces put together in that way of, I have this bit of knowledge and I have this bit of knowledge over here, and these people have these bits of knowledge over here, and everybody is sort of, we call it the Reese's peanut butter effect, right? Because everybody gets to combine their knowledge, and you leave having an extra toolkit or an idea for a contact that you can build something new with. And in particular with the advent of AI, I think so many of these tools are so personalized, right? They're either you've got your Chat GPT or whatever, you kind of play around with it, or you've got your Grammarly, right? That's sitting in your inbox and doing other things like that. So you can correct your grammar on the fly. And now we've got Copilot, Gemini, all these other crazy things that are becoming more and more prevalent in our lives and making even decisions for us in some cases. And how do you incorporate that insight into your business? How do you put oversight onto it? How do you, put ethics around those things? All of those are big questions that small business owners are actively building the plane as it is flying and taking off. So we have to rely on each other in some sense of building those toolkits together, so we all have a common framework and language set to be able to work from.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we don't get on the train, the AI train, I mean, it's already left the station, right? So if you're just now getting introduced, we got to catch you up a little bit because it's here, it's going super fast. It's a massive disruptor. It is going to change so much in our world that you got to start educating. You've got to start learning, getting comfortable with it, and know what kind of questions to ask. And I think doing that in a safe community like Founded in FoCo is a great place to start. So I'm hoping I can make this relatable and a safe place for people to have some conversations, so that then when they walk away, they do have some next steps and some resources. That's going to be really important too. Resources on training and where to go next as well.
So I'll share with you this. I had, when I just started out my business, I was teaching Facebook 101, and I was teaching it to a set of entrepreneurs who were maybe a little bit older, and they didn't quite really grasp what the internet was in the same way that, like, I, as this super young millennial coming in and being like, yeah, this digital native stuff. What I discovered after teaching my first, I think it was like $75 a head for this Facebook 101. And today, this is unimaginable, yes, because we're like, Facebook, what are you talking about? Like 101? Come on. This was a literacy skill. And I had this moment of like, oh, I feel really icky charging $75 a head for a literacy skill, teaching people how to read, right? Essentially. In the same way that knowing how to use a keyboard is a literacy skill, knowing how to use like a word processor, those types of things. And I feel the same way about AI now as I felt about Facebook then, in that of course, there's the like gold rush, like, yes, you must learn. Here's the 101s. Here's the $150 101 course in ChatGPT, whatever. What I feel is this is a literacy skill, in that if you do not know how to use it, in the same way that if you didn't know how to use Google, you will be so much less effective, and you will be in the same way of like, hey, look at all these scams or these robocalls or other things like that. If you don't know what to look for, you're going to be actively in danger. And I feel this in my bones that, having played with like Speechify and some of these things, can replicate my voice, and things like ChatGPT, where if you train it enough, it can actually replicate kind of your writing. And so if you have both of those things tangent, like, you can create a a semi-permeable presence of yourself, which is this weird amalgamation. But if you had that as somebody who is trying to scam you, that would be a very dangerous combination indeed. And I worry a
Yeah,
lot about that for my friends who are like, I don't like it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to really learn about it. I haven't jumped in yet. I'm like, wait, hold on. This is a literacy skill. Let me teach you 5 things that will like freeze you in your tracks right now that will make you want to play with this thing. And at least enough to understand where it's dangerous.
absolutely. And I love that you mentioned that, Nick, because, I did this jump between cybersecurity and technology for banks to running a senior care. So in home, so seniors, and we know that they are one of the most preyed upon, vulnerable populations for scamming, right? They get hit all the time. And this is just going to take it to a whole nother level, right? So I love the way you're phrasing it around literacy. We were discussing this, my husband and I, that we need our parents to understand this is out here at some basic level so that, you're not going to be able to stick your head in the sand. Nobody's going to be able to stick their head in the sand over this. You're going to have to educate yourself to a basic level on what it is, what to look out for, just like you said, how to protect yourself and others. And then in addition, if you're a business and you're growing, how can you leverage that? Because if you're not leveraging it and your competition is, you know, how do you stay competitive? How can you keep a thriving business and go forward? So, yeah, I agree. I think it is. And it's just so much, so fast. I'm excited to be able to just kind of start delving into that a little bit and maybe help guide just some to get people started. And I think talking about it is a big step in the awareness so that we all understand it's out there. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been watching some of the Sora videos, and I don't know if you've seen the puppies. They're real. There's no way. And I'm educated on this, and I'm like, there's just hardly any way to tell. So how are we going to help others differentiate that? And let's just say it, with a big election coming up, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. We already heard about the robocalls duplicating Joe Biden's voice. There are now laws in place to protect against this. The laws are always going to be retroactive to the harm that has been done. There will never be
Absolutely.
a sense where we are able to fully understand or even conceptualize what a generative system could do in a space where people are vulnerable, in need, and there's money involved, especially. So I really appreciate talking about this particular point with you, is for just knowing your background and knowing that there are people in our community, especially at Founded in FoCo. Please ask these questions. They are so vital. They are so important to your business. And I think that everybody in our business community should be shouting these things from the rooftop of like, hey, this is a literacy skill. Please use this. Understand how the research comes to be. Like, hallucinate. We can all like laugh about ChatGPT's like hallucinations of facts and things like that, or like how it formulaically creates things like social media posts or whatever. It will not stay there. Models are actively being curated. This was like a year ago that ChatGPT was introduced to the general public, and
Mhm.
look at how far it's come. We have videos now that are, even experts are having a hard time. Like, whoa, I don't know if that's real or not. That's crazy. We have an obligation to our business community as people who have these skills. Just like tax people have expertise that have specialized implications. All of the new rules are coming through the federal government for registering, your business and the beneficial owner information, other things like that. If you have that knowledge, you have to share it. And Founded in FoCo is the perfect place to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You guys do amazing organization and bringing the events together, and you're very much appreciated.
Well, Dayle, where can we find out more about you and your business? Where can we hire you and find out more about how you can benefit our operations?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on my website. It's intentionalresultsco.com. You can definitely find me at Founded in FoCo all week next week. I will also be there with Good Business Colorado, a nonprofit who's doing some work that I'm also really heart focused with. And yeah, just come and stop by, hit my website. My contact information is on there and you can reach out. But I really think, coming to the Founded FoCo, checking out the sessions, the exhibit halls, there's just so much that you get there that it's hard to explain unless you've been for a few years, right? So yeah, and I am open to see if I'm ever the right person for you. What I do love, and I think Founded in FoCo does a great job of, we talk with people, and then if we're not the person for you, or what the service you need is not ours, we always know somebody who we would recommend, that we trust, that we would recommend you to as a resource. And I think those connections are just invaluable.
100%. And getting in person with a fellow entrepreneur can never be understated, especially post-COVID. We are so excited to be able to come back and enjoy these spaces together, and having these moments of connection that we've sorely missed. And we focused heavily early episodes of the podcast on some of these, the symptoms of not having been connected over the last few years that really has drawn out and exacerbated a lot of inequities in mental health, in entrepreneurship, and some of these dire consequences that we really have to, I'm using these like, boy, I sound really like an alarmist here, but getting together is sort of a panacea for all of these things, and being in person with people and chatting with them one-on-one and understanding how their businesses work, how they're doing as a people, as a community, like these are important things that we're doing. So we cannot wait to see you and your expertise at Founded in FoCo.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick.
Absolutely. And we'll see you at Founded in FoCo March 4th through 8th at the Fort Collins Senior Center. And definitely check out episodes of the podcast for more great entrepreneurial insights from folks like Dayle and other great geniuses in our community working on tricky problems. See you next time. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Nick Armstrong, and this is a Founded in FoCo podcast. For more great interviews like this one, join us at foundedinfoco.com.